Week 20, 20 weeks of doing this from premise to published off the cuff. Is that what I called it? At the start, off the cuff writing advice. It has evolved a lot since week one, for better or worse. 20 weeks of doing this, and I still don't have a first draft on the page. I'm not even close. I've got 31,163 words, which is barely an increase from last week. But there's a good reason for that. Last week was my first week back doing real work, or doing work for other people, I should say, back to freelancing. And it didn't exactly go according to plan. Day one, job one, what do I get? An AI accusation.
No fluff writing advice. Cut the fluff!
It's funny because in last week's video, I said something like, oh, I might talk about AI next week, because I'd been re-exploring the landscape, or reassessing the landscape after being out of freelancing for over 4 years. Last time I was freelancing or freelance writing was early 2022, and then I did 4 years working for the publisher, and now dipping my toes back into the content writing game. Been trying to figure out what's what, and there's obviously a big discussion around AI in so many industries at the moment. So I thought, oh yeah, I've been looking into that. I might talk about AI and my stance on AI, and is it affecting me? Will it affect me as a writer? And I said I'd talk about that unless something else came up. But the thing that did come up was related to AI. By the way, quick side note, someone pointed out that in some of my latest videos, my arms have been looking black, like they're covered in ink, or I'm doing black arm or something like that. And I think I've figured out what was going on because I have such poor lighting in this room, or I did have. I've been using the studio light on my Mac, which darkens the background but is meant to lighten the person. But I think it was only lightening my face and torso, and was keeping my arms dark. So I've disabled the studio light. I've borrowed my wife's ring light that she uses in her hair salon to take nice pictures of hair. So hopefully the lighting's good now. I've never had good lighting. Anyway, Monday last week, I wrote an SEO article. It was a pretty big job, especially considering, it was a client I had written for before, like way back in at the start of 2022 would have been the last thing I wrote. Anyway, I get the guidelines down, and then I write this big article, hand it in, and then it comes back with an AI report that says it was 64% AI. And I know what percent of it was AI because I wrote it, and that was 0%. And I'm thinking, what is going on here? So I should figure out what the AI scanner was they used. I do know. I should have. Hang on. Yeah, here it is. I don't normally badmouth companies or throw any under the bus, but I can tell you, based on this article, Zero GPT is at least 64% inaccurate. Anyway, it didn't end up being a big deal. I'd worked for this company before, like I said, back in 2022. The content manager I was dealing with was the same one I worked for back then. So I knew it would be all cool in the end, and it was, but it's still a little bit concerning. Like, how many companies, how many, I don't know, teachers, whatever, are using these AI scanners that are blatantly wrong? I even put one of my old articles that I wrote for this company back in early 2022 through the scanner. So this was ChatGPT came out towards the end of 2022. So no one was using AI to write at the time I was last freelancing. So this article I wrote in 2022, according to Zero GPT, 50% AI. That's just not possible. And it's kind of made me want to dip out of the content writing freelancing game completely, because look, in this situation, all good. I knew the client, but what if this was a new client and they used the same scanner or a similar one? Apparently none of them are really accurate. What if they didn't believe that it wasn't AI? Then you've got this whole messy situation you've got to deal with. I'm sure, I mean, you've just got to make sure you're saving multiple drafts at multiple stages. It just becomes this, so all these extra steps just to prove that you're not using AI these days. Anyway, I guess the main point of this video is I will be launching my um, editing services before the end of the year, maybe even next week. The logo's done, the business logo's done. It turned out great, love it. Website is almost complete. Got a few little bit of fine tuning and a few little bits and pieces to finalize. And I'm taking a zero anti AI that cancels each other out, and a complete anti AI stance is what I'm trying to say. I'm not going to use AI in any writing projects or any stage of the editing process. I just don't see why anyone would, or even how they could. And I'm talking about like trained writers and trained editors. Yes, if you're like untrained, or you're just starting learning how to write well or edit well or whatever it might be, yeah, AI might look like a favorable path to take. I get that. And I should mention this as well. I updated my LinkedIn profile recently. I don't use LinkedIn at all, but I know getting back into freelancing, it is handy to have that sort of business profile set up. And I was reading a few posts there, and there is so much pro AI, just a pro AI sentiment on that platform. It was almost shocking, because I feel like most people I speak to are either anti AI or AI neutral, or just don't care. But it seems like on LinkedIn, I don't know if the algorithm was just feeding me stuff trying to convince me that AI is great, but it was like apparently professional writers saying how great AI is, because it's improved their workflow. It means they can, get twice the amount of work done in half the time. No, that's a big boost. Maybe it's twice the amount of work done in the same time. Whatever it is they're saying, it's all just nonsense. And then you look into the profiles of some of these people, and a lot of them are selling like AI coaching services. Like, I'll show you how to improve your workflow with AI. And I just can't imagine, maybe I'm missing something, but I can't imagine like a trained, experienced working writer getting anything out of AI in that context. It's like some people are saying, oh, I write all my own stuff and then I use AI to refine my ideas. It's like, why can't you refine your own ideas? That's part of the process. Or AI writes the thing and then I edit it to make it mine. It's like, well, they're always, look, I'm actually baffled. And I've done a bit of AI testing just to see if there is any way that it could help the writing, editing, publishing process, or could enhance it. And the only thing, I don't know if there's anything that can quite do this yet, but I can foresee a time or a situation where AI could be used for proofreading. Because if you're talking about just a straight proofread, it's a very objective process. You're essentially just spotting errors, inconsistencies, anything. It's like, yes, this 100% needs to be fixed. There's no subjectivity involved, but in like any other step of the editing process, there's a lot of subjectivity. And I don't think we should be using AI for subjective processes. Of course, there's some objectivity at every level of the editing process and even the writing, but I'm just yet to see AI nail anything that requires any decent level of subjectivity to make it good. Subjectivity, I should say creativity as well. So I think the people, based on what I saw on LinkedIn and what I see in different groups, I think the people who are pro AI and are like applauding it and spruiking it on every street corner, I think they're more the people who are concerned about output rather than quality. They're talking about how much more productive they are now, how much more like content they can put out. It's like, oh, it used to take me 4 hours to write a blog. Now it only takes me 2. But a lot of the creative people who are more focused on, the quality, the creativity, I don't see many of them spruiking AI. And then what I've seen behind the scenes at certain companies as well, I think it's the people who are embracing AI. I mean, at like the business level, it's a capitalism thing. Let's sacrifice creativity and quality for productivity. That's a story as old as time. Anyway, point is, I don't and won't be using AI. The only thing I use it for, I use it like a glorified search engine. If I need a question answered, I ask the AI. It's getting pretty good at that most of the time. Well, that turned into a bit of a ramble, maybe a bit of a rant. I think next week, if all goes to plan, I'll do Week 21 will be a big business launch video, and I'll try to stay on topic and on point. I'll try. If you enjoyed this video, hit subscribe. If you didn't enjoy this video, hit subscribe anyway and hate watch my content. That's always fun.